Hello, everybody. I'm Stefan Dyer, and I'm recording my first English comedy special on February 24, live recorded from Toronto. Tickets at stefandyer.com.
Welcome to the Stefan Dyer podcast, my people.
Hello, my people. ¿Cómo están, damas y caballeros? Welcome to the Stefan Dyer podcast, where I welcome people with remarkable stories for amazingly vulnerable conversations, fun conversations. I'm super happy because today I have the unbreakable, the unmistakable, the highly capable, the invincible Big Mo Ismail. Mo is an Egyptian-Canadian stand-up comedian. He immigrated to Canada when he was 7 years old. He's been a center stage comedian for the past 13 years, building nationwide recognition as a touring headliner across Canada. Some of his more significant acts include opening for numerous big names, such as Colin Mochrie, Todd Barry, Roy Wood Jr., and being featured on Just for Laughs, SiriusXM, and CBC, my friends. And now, get ready, Big Mo! Boom, boom, boom!
That was a big introduction, man. I like that.
How are you, brother? Good?
Good, man. It's all downhill from here.
I don't know what's going to happen from here, but did I mess up Colin Mochrie's last
No, it's perfect. Colin Mochrie. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. He's a legend.
So I met Big Mo at Just for Laughs 2023 in Toronto. I was that was my first festival. I was opening for Ariel Elias, and Big Mo was at New Faces. He had already been at Just for Laughs before the year previous to that. Loved Mo. Loved Ferris, who was on the podcast. Actually loved everybody.
Hey, shout out Ferris.
Yeah, shout out Ferris. And I actually met Mo outside of the venue, and we were talking, and I'm like, this guy is so fucking nice. I have to invite him on the pod. I knew you were a great comedian already.
Appreciate you, man.
And the first question I wanted to ask you, which I asked you that day, I don't know if you remember, but you did a reel. You were interviewed on Just for Laughs on the Instagram.
Yeah.
And you were talking about being the smoke comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. When did you start stand-up? And what is the smoke comedian?
So I started in 2010.
Yeah.
And, I was working at a bank at the time.
Same.
Yeah, man. So
what bank?
It was CIBC. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
yeah, we are.
I mean, I don't know what are they gonna do? You know what I mean? This guy's telling jokes.
They're not gonna sponsor this. They don't sponsor it anyway,
right? Cut off my credit card.
Yeah,
I hope. No, they. So I was working. I used to take calls in their call center for credit cards, CIBC Visa. And then I sat next to my homie Jerome at the time, and this guy would be like, yo, man, like, we would always chop it up between calls. Yeah. So we'd get a guy with, like, a weird name. Like, yo, look at this guy. And we would just both laugh and stuff. So then one day he's like, yo, man, you should be a comic. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I don't know. At the time, I was like, my ego was too big or something. I was like, yo, I'm not a clown. He's like, no, it's nothing like that. He's like, it's not like I've tried it. I've done a couple of mics, and it's really sick. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll go watch. So then I went and I started watching all these shows, and then eventually, I saw a couple of comics bomb, and I was like, I could do better than that, So then, man, so that's when I started, and the rest is history, man.
Where was your first open mic?
It was at Yuck Yucks in Toronto.
Oh, straight for the kill.
Yeah, it was just like their open mic night.
Pro-Am night, yeah.
Pro-Am night, yeah.
I did that too.
So yeah, that was fun, man. I didn't anticipate that it would be like my career after that. I just kind of wanted to do it just to try it out, and I loved it. And then, the next show I did was like an open mic in a basement at some bar. And then I just bombed. And I was like, oh God, this is real.
So tell me a little bit about those first 2 years, because I always say that my first 2 years were horrible. Like, you just have like a bunch of bad... First of all, you only get invited to bad shows at the beginning because nobody really knows you. So you haven't done the networking. Not a lot of people have seen you. I didn't even know what a premise was or a punch was. I just thought it was talking about things that I thought were funny. But sometimes it works, but if it has no structure and you have like so much buildup for a mediocre punch, it's not going to work out anyways. So my first 2 years were like humiliating.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was performing with my business partner Juan. We started at the same time, and he's like an amazing storyteller. He was getting a bunch of laughs, and then our friends would come watch, and then they'd be like, it's so cool that you're doing what you like. And I was like, fuck. That's like the biggest humiliation. I was still at the bank, and
yeah, you gotta go back to work the next day. You're like, what am I doing, man?
But you like even one laugh, it's like enough of a hook to get you going back.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like drugs. you're just in. Yeah, the first 2 years were like rough, man, because I think I was lucky enough that I networked, like not even networked. I met a bunch of great comedians right off the top. So, like, my first, second show, I was already in the circles. I already made a bunch of friends. But my skills weren't on their level. These guys were a few years in, like, ahead of me.
Yeah.
So, I would do shows with them, and they would kill, and I would just bomb. I was doing, like, it was, like, 6 shows, man. Like, they would put me on, like, shows at, like, colleges and universities and, you know, 200-300 people, and I'm like... Again, my ego's getting inflated. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna kill it. And then I just go up. Bro, I would walk people. I'd be like telling jokes, and you'd see groups of people get up and just walk out. And it's like, until I finished, and then they would come back in and sit down. Like, it was just atrocious. Because, yeah, I think up until that point, my reference to, like, what's funny was, like, I don't know, like Eddie Murphy. Like in like Delirious or something, you know? So it's like all I'm doing is telling like, you know, sex jokes and like inappropriate jokes and stuff. So then, yeah, eventually you start to learn that you're like, oh, it doesn't actually like have to be shocking. Like it could just be funny.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So like I was just like, okay, maybe I could just talk about my life. Maybe I could just talk about like who I am as a person instead of like, you know, like, oh yeah, like, you know, sex this and sex that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why am I like this?
And the walking people out and then come back, that's like the smoke comedian too. It's
well, that was one, because dude, I was bombing a lot. I was bombing so much. The first few years, not just the first 2, it was like, it took like probably like, because, you know, when you start off, you're not doing it all the time.
Yeah.
You're doing, like, a show every 2 months.
That is exactly my job.
Yeah, and then you're, like, every time you show up, you're putting on your best shirt. Yeah, that's right, I'm a comedian.
Posting every single time, inviting everybody.
My whole neighborhood's coming out. My mom, my brother, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, so, yeah, no, it was rough, man. It was rough. But then, you know, eventually you start to really find your footing and, like, and talk about something that's actually meaningful to you and deeper than just like, you know, stupid fart jokes or whatever. And yeah, it just goes up from there.
When did it start clicking? Because for me, I remember exactly the show where I felt like it was a 180. So I did my first open mic September 2014. And then it was like once it was in Spanish. You did shows at 120, right? 120 Church?
Oh, yeah. 120 Diner.
Yeah, 120 Diner. So it was there in Spanish. There was like an open Spanish open mic type of thing, but it wasn't comedy. It was like music, poetry, and our friend Diego, who has a big Latin party, and he was organizing that there. He's like, dude, just come and do comedy, you and Juan. So we did it. For whatever reason, the both of us went up on stage together.
Nice.
We still have pictures, and it was like theatrical. I don't know. It was very weird, but we were doing shows every like 1 or 2 months. But again, I was talking about stuff that I thought was funny and was not connecting with the audience. For 2 years, sucked big time.
Of course.
And then I was like, well, why don't I take... I don't know if it was like a business approach to it, but like I'm all about the books, you know? So I'm like, let's buy a book.
Yeah.
There has to be a book about stand-up. So obviously Judy Carter came up, and then I read that book and then heard about the Second City workshops, the stand-up comedy workshops. So I took level 1. And then I was like, oh, this is a premise. This is like, it's not just like whatever. There's a structure to it, a topic, a feeling, be specific. and get like at least 3 or 4 sentences said, like maximum before a punch.
Yeah.
Just like getting the numbers, because I studied finance, so I like to see the numbers. And then I was like, oh wow, this build up for a punch is like, you can't be talking for 6 minutes.
Yeah, for one punch.
And then you're like, huh? And nobody's laughing.
no.
You're like, oh, I have to climb another mountain now. August 20, 2016. We went to do a show in London, Ontario.
Oh, nice.
And that's when it clicked.
Oh, damn. In London.
In Spanish, in London.
Was it a big crowd?
It was like, yeah, it was probably like 100.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that's where it clicked, because I started to read and took a workshop. Obviously, the best teacher is on stage, but I like to compliment. I started seeing my videos and started seeing where I got the punches, started printing the thing and seeing how I could like optimize it. Now it becomes a little bit more natural, because you can feel it, hear it, see it, and when I edit my reels, I can optimize a little bit. But when did it click for you?
Man, I don't even know. I think probably for the first, like, it was pretty gradual. Like, I think, I want to say maybe like at least, because I was part-time comedian for the first like 4 or 5 years. And then eventually, like throughout that time, you're getting slightly funnier. Like you're going from bombing every night to then, like you said, you get 1 laugh. Okay, and then all of a sudden that laugh becomes 2. And you're like, oh my God, okay, so if I hit these 2 punchlines, I get 2 laughs. Sick. And then 3. And then so it started growing. But I think my like, oh man, it had to have been maybe around like the 6-year mark, like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
But then I really felt a massive shift once I hit 10 years. Something happened at my 10-year mark where it's like, all of a sudden it felt like there was a different perspective. Like I wasn't looking for like an audience approval anymore.
Yeah.
It became so much deeper, because before I was really like pandering, like which sometimes you should do. But it's like, I was like, oh, like, do you like it? Like, tell me what you think is funny so I can talk about it. And it was very, like, cheap, almost. But then I hit 10 years and I was like, no, like, it's about me and my voice and my experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Of course, it's got to be relatable. But first and foremost, you have to be authentic to you.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, as long as I'm being honest with myself, and as long as, honestly, now it's like my rule is, as long as I think I'm funny... I was like, anyone else could like figure it out. Like, it's almost like you know when you like a girl, and then you're like when you're young, you go, hey, like, yeah, I'll come to you. Like, what do you want? I'll buy you flowers. I'll do what you want. And then eventually you get to a point in your life, you go, no, if she likes me, she will also take a few steps closer.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of treat an audience, where I go, okay, if you like me, you got to come a little closer to me, but I'm not going to do all the running here. Like, it's almost like this dance where you have to balance it out. I'll take a step to you, but I want to see you come. If I take a step to you and you keep pulling back, well, I'm not going to keep taking steps. I'm gonna hang out here. I'm going to dance alone. Join the party, or you could sit there with your arms crossed all mad at me, you know? So.
All right, so it seems like it started to click at year 10.
Year 10 was a big shift.
And did you start, was it only the escape competition through authenticity part where you will start to understand, it's like a dance between you and the audience, you'll start to understand what they love about Mo, but also you start to understand what you do best, and it becomes like a dance, but you have to be willing to be yourself, because nobody can be better at being Mo than Mo, but it's
that's right.
It takes courage, and it takes time, and it takes dedication to find out what that best version of Mo is.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, like you'll write on stage, like you'll go on a rant a little bit ad lib, and sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna ride this wave.
Yeah.
Because I know something's gonna come out, and sometimes like new bits, like I think half of my special will come out from me ranting,
just like crowd work or something.
Crowd work, ranting, observations, and then the other half has been like writing it, and it has evolved. Did you take any courses or books, or was it feedback, or was it video? Anything else that helped you click on year 10?
No, man, I wish I did, honestly. I really wish I took a course. I wish I listened to a podcast, read a book. Like, I don't really like reading, even though I'm a teacher. I'm like, you guys should read. They're like, do you read? I'm like, Of course. No, like I wish I did because I think it would have sped up the process. But I've always been like a learn the hard way kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just legit through failure that I was like you said it. It was like, what do they like about me? And then just kind. And I think also by year 10, you have really found your voice.
Yeah.
Like what really matters to you, because before that, I think you're just focused on like what's funny. Right? And like, okay, yeah, I know I was on the bus and then somebody farted and we didn't know who. And it's like anyone can tell that story, but why is it relevant to you?
100%.
You know? So I think it was just narrowing that down. And then once you find your voice, then you could just talk about legitimately anything you want. Like and this is, I guess, a side note, I don't necessarily believe in like censorship. I don't believe in that, like, there's some things that are off limit. I think there's something funny about everything.
Yeah.
As long as it's, like, funny. That's just the rule. Make it funny. Look, man, you want to talk about my race. You want to talk about my people. You want to talk about... Sure, fine, right? As long as you can make me laugh. If it's just straight up, like, racist...
Yeah.
And, like, you're just like, I hate your kind. And you're like, all right. That sounds like you have some problems you got to deal with, you know? But... I don't really believe in any sort of like, hey, you can talk about everything except that. And you're like, what? What makes this thing so much more superior? Like any topic, dude. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I heard your bit, which is probably my favorite bit of yours about therapy.
Oh yeah.
Where I don't want to butcher it or anything.
No,
but the
okay.
observation is, which is golden, is like. You feel depressed, you're feeling bad, so you call the therapist, and the therapist is like, okay, how much is for the session? And they're like, $350, and you're like, I think I feel better already.
Yeah, not even that sad, man. It's okay. Yeah.
When these little moments happen, do you have a little notebook, or is it a mental note, and you're gonna try it out that night? How do these bits evolve? Do you write every single day, or is it like me where stuff will happen and then you'll write them or address them or bring them up on stage?
Yeah, I'll do that. I wish I wrote every day, but it's honestly like it's usually through conversation. Like I'll be hanging out with a friend or something, and then I'll say something, and then my friend will laugh, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about that story. Like the therapy thing was like that, where I was like talking to a buddy, and I'm like, man, this guy's charging me $350. And then I was like, all of a sudden, I didn't even feel that sad. And he was starting to laugh. And I'm like, oh, man. So I picked up my phone, put it in the notes. I'm like, we got a new joke. Let's work it out. So, and then from there, you start adding, like, the punchlines. You're like, what else can I say? Oh, like, oh, okay, I'm already starting to feel better. Oh, like, what costs $350? What, you know what I mean? So, like, it's really just through conversation. Sometimes I'll be on a walk, and I'll remember something that took place. And, like, so it really is, like... if I sit down, word for word, try to write jokes, it's just, like, not funny. Like, I just don't feel... My style of humor, I think, is more so, like, I like talking to people like I'm talking to my friend. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I connect. It
feels like that on stage.
Yeah. With you. Thanks, man.
I feel like the new faces, 100%... And maybe that's what Just for Laughs looks for in new faces, but I think that everybody up on that stage... doesn't give a fuck about what anybody else is doing. Not the new face, but like in general, they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
And they got that voice. And regardless of whatever is happening, nobody could tell that set like you tell it.
Yeah.
Because you're just bringing 100% of yourself on stage.
Of course.
And you got that laugh and you got that smile and like, it's like, dude, I want to be his friend.
Yeah.
You know? Like you're just like, you're talking to a friend.
Yeah.
Was that your delivery in the beginning, or it has evolved?
No, I think in the beginning it was just delivery. Like it was just like presentation. Like it was like I'm throwing my jokes at you, and like I guess it's still similar now, but I'm not so focused on like presenting the jokes.
Yeah.
Instead of just like telling them. Like I'm telling somebody at like my buddy and I at a coffee shop, and I'm like, buddy, okay, so I called up this girl, right? And then it's like I like telling stories like that.
Yeah, me too.
Where it's like instead of just being like, anyways, how was that like very like I don't know.
Frustrated, yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like. And again, some people do that, and that's their style, and they're really funny. But it just doesn't work for me. I think it's just more comfortable to be like, okay, if everybody here was my friend, how would I tell them this story? You know? And then when you do it like that, it really has like almost it takes a big space and makes it feel smaller. So instead of a show that has 500 people, now it just feels like I'm talking to 2 or 3 people, you know? And I think my struggle, I guess not really a struggle, but kind of a struggle with that is that like the bigger the shows get, the more you have to worry about pacing. So like, you know, you're doing small rooms, your punchlines can be quick. You know, you don't necessarily, you wait a little bit, they laugh, and then boom, another punchline. Whereas big rooms, you know, like Just for Laughs this past summer was like, I think the New Faces show we did in Montreal was like almost 900 people. So it was like packed show, packed balcony, and every time you told a joke, the joke is funny, but you gotta wait.
Yeah, because like,
and then it just comes back and it's like a big wave, and you're like, whoa, I gotta wait this out. But so
it's a different timing. I don't know if you know the Brazilian guy Rafi in New York. Rafi, Rafi. Oh, he's going to Vancouver too.
Oh, is he? Nice.
Yeah. And I opened for him here in November. And it was 900 too. By Union Station at the St. Lawrence, and I was loving it. It was me and Ali opening that day, and I was like, but you're just used to like I was used to like maybe 94 at Comedy Bar or 50 smaller, but the timing is like you're like and it's like you want to continue, but it hasn't ended.
Yeah, hold it, sit in it for a little bit, like, and that's so hard, man. Because as a comedian, like, that's one of the biggest lessons I learned is, like, be comfortable with silence.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to fill in every empty space with more talk. Just, like, hold back, let it simmer. Because sometimes that wait makes something 10 times funnier.
Yeah.
Just, like, holding off on it and just being like, I want to, but I'm like, no, let him laugh, you know?
Yeah, 100%. What did you learn from Just for Laughs Montreal and Toronto with the New Faces? What did you learn from the experience, the preparation for the shows, and most importantly, what did you learn from the other New Faces and other acts that you saw?
Man, that's a good question.
I'll tell you what Ferris said.
Yeah, tell me what he said.
Ferris said, he's like, yo, I learned that you don't need to scream at the mic, yo. The mic works.
That's funny. That's
amazing.
A funny answer. That sounds like Ferris too. Yeah, because he's just kind of like chill vibes.
So chill, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, what did I learn, man? I think...
But he also said that he loved everybody's delivery and styles, and he straight up copied, like, little things of people's, like, how they carry themselves or how they prepare or how they will have stage presence. Obviously not jokes, but, like, just being surrounded by a lot of talent and opening for Neil Brennan and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you get... And Dulce Sloan, you get to see... He said, like... These people are like 1,000% unapologetically themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too, right? Like, if you're like, again, it goes back to like pandering to the crowd, where you go, I said this joke, do you like it? Do you like it? No? Okay, I'll change. Like, think about meeting someone like that. You're like, man, this person's insecure. Like, I don't want to be friends with this person. But if you're just like, this is my opinion, like it or not, whatever, we can still be friends, but it's still my opinion. But yeah, what did I learn? I mean, honestly, I learned to just kind of, like, enjoy the moment because it comes and goes quick.
Yeah.
Like, again, I've been at this, this March is going to be 14 years of doing stand-up. And, like, you know, every big success that I've had so far has just come and gone.
Yeah.
So you get a massive show. You open up for a big comic. You do a massive theater. And then before you know it, you're back in your house, laying in the same bed. Nothing's changed. Maybe a couple extra bucks in the bank account, but nothing life-changing.
You still gotta take out the garbage.
You're like, you know, or I gotta go back to school the next day and teach these kids. And then they're like treating you like shit. And then you're like, you guys don't know what happened yesterday. Yeah. You know who I was hanging out with last night? Like, but they don't, it's just, it really is like enjoying the moment. And I think sometimes you stress because you love comedy.
Yeah.
You love your craft. So when big opportunities come up, you want to like hit it out the park. You want to crush it. But then, you know, if you're too busy stressing on like, and it's easier said than done because I still stress. I think everybody does.
Yeah.
But like, I just go, you know what, man? Like, what is the point of stressing so much if it's just gonna come and go? Like I had a good friend of mine, really funny comic, DJ Damaris. He's like a hilarious comedian. I think he lives out in LA now. He actually has a show on CBC right now called One More Time, and it's got a bunch of great Canadian comics. So shout out that show. Even though I auditioned and nobody chose me, but no, I'm just calling them out. Yo, CBC, what's up? No, but it was he's a very funny comic. The reason why I mention him is he's done Conan O'Brien a few times, and I was like, man, how was Conan O'Brien? Like, how was it being on Conan on national television? And he's like, honestly, man, it all happened so fast. He's like, I took my mom with me. I think he took a limo or whatever. They took him there, went into the green room. Doesn't mean Conan at all, you know, and then he's in the green room, and then somebody from one of the producers comes from the back. All right, you ready? You're on in 10. You're on in 5 minutes, whatever. Goes, waiting behind the curtain. Keep it going, you know, put your hands together for so-and-so. He comes out, tells his jokes for 4 or 5 minutes. Done. Conan comes, shakes his hand. He goes backstage, and he's like, before you know it, you're back out in the parking lot.
Yeah, man.
And you're just looking at this building. You're like, what just happened? Like it just came and went, one of the biggest moments, and then you're done. And that's the scary thing about also, like, meeting your goals. That's scary. Like, to me, it's like you work so hard for something. Like, I've worked forever to get to Just for Laughs. And then I finally got it. And there was almost like this, like, feeling of like loneliness after.
Yeah, man, 100%.
You're like, I've been working for over a decade to get here, and then I finally got it. I'm like, what do I do now? Like,
dude, Ferris was saying that. I posted that reel today about the post comedy festival depression.
Oh yeah, man.
The loneliness, and it's so intense, and you're hanging out with these people, and you almost like for a second, you get used to that being your life, but it's not.
It's not, man.
It's not.
No.
And you'll travel, and you know this. Like, we'll go and do shows across the country. You go to Montreal, you go to Vancouver, you go to all these places, and it looks glam. It looks like
so glam.
The tour, bro. The tour.
Social media.
So, yeah, but it's couches. It's not sleeping.
Yeah.
It's going to bed late.
Yeah.
It throws off your routine at times. So I've been like, as you know, you can see the studio here. I'm very, I want to be sure that I don't have these highs, and like the highs are cool and everything.
Of course.
But the lows, the very low lows, I want to be like stable. I think Tony Robbins has a quote, something like, a life of achievement without fulfillment is a very sad life.
Yeah.
So I just want to be happy in these like outlier moments.
Of course.
And then low. I want to make sure I have, like, doing the exercise, not having, like, these lows of, like, drinking. I quit drinking, like, 6 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
And my wife, too, man. So
good for you guys.
So we've been feeling good, resting well.
Yeah.
And
that must have been hard, eh?
To
just stop if you were
like,
I
I wasn't drinking that much, and we weren't drinking that much anyway, so we're like, let's try it for a month.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of big things coming up that this is the thing, like, we care about these things so much,
of course,
that when they happen, it's like, what now?
Yeah.
So you just gotta keep adding stuff and planning so that it never ends. But you gotta enjoy that moment. How do you mitigate? How do you make sure that you don't have these low? I think you can't avoid the post comedy festival depression or lows at time, but you can still accommodate a few things. Ferris was saying he just makes sure that, like, when he's good, he cleans his room, the house, everything, so he doesn't feel horrible.
Yeah.
If he's like not adding another thing of being on top of being sad.
Of course.
What do you do when you experience those lows, man?
I mean, like, yeah, I think obviously, like, the common answer is to, like, set new goals. It wasn't so much like the post festival depression. It was just more so like the post achievement depression. Like, so the festival itself was like fine because there was other things coming up, and I know that, you know, as long as you're funny and you're killing it in your craft, you're just like, you know, if you're a doctor and you're a good doctor, your reward is to get more patients.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're a singer and you're a great singer, your reward is to keep making more albums. So as a comedian, if you're funny, you just keep do more shows now.
Yeah.
That's the reward. So I'm like, okay, I did this. There's more shows coming, but it's also like, no matter how big or recognized you get, like, you still, like, somebody somewhere doesn't know you
Yeah.
and doesn't care. And it's like, comedy's not their life,
Yeah.
but it's my life. So then you tell them about it and they just go, cool, man, great. That's like somebody coming up to me and be like, okay, dude, ping pong, right? I'm like a world champ in ping pong. And you're like, dude, I don't know a single professional ping pong player, you know? So I think it was just like, okay, so I'm done this festival. What are the next plans? What are the future plans? Am I going to... Because then after the festival, then you start to have meetings with production companies. And it's nice. Again, it's flattering. But then their expectation is like, what are you doing next? So, hey, congratulations. You're really funny. Are you working on a TV show? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I have ideas, but I've been just working on stand-up. And that's the thing. It's like, whatever craft you choose to do, you can't just like pick one thing and keep... You have to have your hands in a couple of different things, whether it's writing, acting, maybe a podcast, maybe a... You know, it's not just performing stand-up. And the bigger you get, the industry expects more. And I think you have to do your part with yourself to just make sure you're always grounding yourself. You're not like becoming overwhelmed, because if it doesn't feel right to you, like, just follow your gut.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you have to stretch yourself out too thin to please somebody, because the industry is always going to want to suck the most out of you.
Yeah.
And be like, you know, this would be, hey, this would be great, you should do that, do this, okay, write this, give me a script, give me da. And then you're like, dude, I'm so stressed. Like, I just finished
It stops being fun, like, sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I always want it to be fun.
Yeah.
That's like my main rule, man. As long as I'm having fun, that's first and foremost, before anything else. And I had this moment of realization right before the pandemic where I was starting to hate comedy. I was like, dude, what? Every show I was like angry. I was like, I was, man, because I was like, first of all, I'm not getting booked a ton. I'm not making a ton of money. This doesn't make sense. I think I was about to reach 10 years, or maybe like just after. I was like, I don't get it, man. This sucks. I don't feel good. You know, there's no fun in this anymore. And then I had to take a moment and like really reflect and be like, okay, so why? Why am I doing stand-up if it's not fun? I should just quit. If something stops being fun, just quit, man. Walk away. Life is short. Just go do your thing. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm doing it because I do love making people laugh. It's my favorite. I've done it my whole life. When I was the kid in the back of the class, I was, you know, with my homies. I was always the funny guy. I wasn't even thinking about comedy at those points. I was just like, dude, I love joking. And I would fail classes because of it. Like, being funny got me in so much trouble.
Same, man.
You know? And
kicked out of the class.
Kicked out of the class. You got to sit now in the front instead of the back. And you're like, oh, my friends are back there. And I'm like, oh, just feel like a loser, man. So then I was like, okay, so let me go back to that. Let me stop thinking about business. Stop thinking about money. Stop thinking about the stress of like more. And just have fun. Just go back, and money will eventually come. Bookings will increase. And just be happy and do something that you love doing. And then the second I shifted that perspective, man, it all changed. It was almost like God. I don't know if people believe in God, but I'm a big God believer. And it was like God was listening, and he was like, all right, man. So you're having fun. You're being positive. You're not being like sour about anything. So just like, you know, here's more bookings. You're having fun. You're making yourself happy, you know? And then it all just kept going up from there, man. So
I think it's inefficient to be miserable.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if you're having a good time, you start to see like the positive and everything, and people want that happiness.
People feel it.
They feel it.
Yeah.
They want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they want to have you on your show. Like, we've all been in these green rooms where the vibe is like negative.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you're like, what am I doing? Why did you even invite me? If, like, why am I on this? Like,
yeah.
I remember one time Comedy Bar. I love Comedy Bar. I love Gary. I love everybody. But I got invited to this show. I don't even know what show it was. I don't remember at this point. But there was a guy who was supposedly a legend in Canada, but not like a famous legend, he's been around for 30 years and is funny.
Yeah.
But the guy was like 70 and drunk.
Oh,
and
God.
he starts to like say, yeah, you fucking Mexicans. And I'm like, I'm not even Mexican. And he's just like, dude, I don't know you. And then I go up, and then I had to go up and you're like,
you feel
pretend
gross.
like nothing just happened, and you gotta smile, like you gotta,
Yeah.
but you gotta be able to turn it on and off,
Yes.
and because the audience doesn't fucking care, they
don't
paid,
know.
they want to see, and you should give yourself permission to have a great time on stage too, because
Yeah.
the thing I love about stage the most is like I'm not on my phone,
No.
time goes by super fast.
Yeah.
You can connect with people, and it gives you permission to do other stuff that you can't, like on a one-on-one on a coffee, you know, like your delivery changes.
You could be a little goofy.
Yeah, and yeah, man, on stage is like the best. Like it's like an extreme sport. Like a lot of people say they. I heard this in a podcast. Like they want peace of mind, but what they really want is peace from the mind.
Yeah.
Like they just don't want to
Yeah.
be in their thoughts.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people do extreme sports like snowboarding and fucking bungee jumping or whatever, because you're not thinking like when you're snowboarding, you're like, oh, I should have sent that email. Like when you're doing or surfing,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I should have called my mom. Like you're in the moment. Same as stand up. Like,
You're just skydiving. You're like, did I turn my stove off? Just midair.
and like that's why a lot of people, that's why they do drugs and alcohol, because you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what stand up is.
Of course, man. These old guys, you know, they get to that place because it's just years of thinking about money, thinking about how, and also being irrelevant. Like they stop being relevant, and they don't upgrade their knowledge. They're not having fun anymore.
Yeah.
They're just thinking about the good old days when they got paid, and then now they're not. So they're just miserable. And you're like, dude, you're living a shitty lifestyle. Excuse me. You're drinking consistently. You're smoking weed, doing whatever it is that you're doing, and that's fine if you want to do those things. Do you, but just understand that at some point in time you're gonna be like, I've been on the road with guys like that 30 years in, they're just like, after every show you're doing a weekend in like some small town with them, and it's like every show afterwards they're just getting blackout, they're slurring their words, it sucks. And you're like, man, are you okay? Like why are you bringing this kind of energy? It doesn't have to, you just quit. You're not doing anybody any favors. You're no longer a legend. Just because you've been doing something a long time, it doesn't make you a legend.
That's the thing I like about stand-up. You got to go win the audience every night.
100%. Be funny, man. Be likable. Be funny. And also, like, I think a big piece that I also learned is being happy for, like, other comedians.
Yeah, man.
Because, like,
that's huge.
Yeah, because coming up, it was like I said, it's like I met a lot of great comedians right from the start. So within the first 2-3 years, all my friends are getting Just for Laughs. They're getting TV tapings, but I'm only 2 or 3 years in, and those guys are like 6-7 years in, and I'm like kind of getting bitter, and I'm like, why not me? I'm doing the same shows as them every night. How come I'm not getting it? And I was like, oh wait, I'm not actually funny on their level. Like they're just way ahead, and then you have to turn that bitterness around and go, you know what, man? I'm actually like, I'm happy Stefan got that festival. I am, because he must feel so good. And as his friend, I should feel, you know, when you watch the World Cup, and like a team wins, and it's not your country, but you still watch them lift the cup, and then it makes you a little happy because you go, man, that must feel so good. Imagine being the dude that gets to lift the World Cup. You go, that feeling must be awesome. So then you're happy for someone else. And then I think the same thing about like festivals. I think the same thing about somebody getting casted in a movie, in a show, whatever. I go, man, that must feel so good. Like, yeah, I'm not like, why not me?
Yeah.
Because if I don't get picked, what am I expecting? Am I expecting them to go on the set of the movie and be like, guys, can we just time out for a minute? I know I'm here, but I really think Mo should be here instead. Like, no one's gonna do that.
Yeah.
So just be happy for people, man. Celebrate everybody's success, because it feels good for them, and one day it'll be yours, and you're gonna want people to be happy for you.
Yeah, and those same friends, if they know you're a good guy to work with, they're gonna bring you along to other opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's easier said than done, 100%.
Of course,
especially when you start with the same people, same years, or same stages.
Yeah.
But like, we gotta stop complaining.
Yeah.
For the results we didn't get, and the work we did not put in.
Exactly.
For those results.
That's a good point.
And maybe like, dude, maybe they wanted an Egyptian guy for the role, and then they gave it to you. But I'm not like, I can't speak it.
Yes.
I don't look Egyptian.
Yeah.
But maybe when they need a Latino guy, or a guy who's like has an identity crisis because he's lived in a bunch of these countries, maybe they'll pick me. So.
Yeah. That's the thing, yeah. Sometimes opportunities are not yours, and then you just know that you have to accept that it wasn't written for you. Like, it's just not your time. It's just, and trusting in time.
Yeah.
And trusting in, like, everybody's going to have their moment. Everyone's going to have their time. I mean, yeah, some people might never have it, but it goes back to what you're saying. You just have to do it because you love doing what it is, and you can do it for years on end and have fun with it, regardless of what you get or don't get. Because, look, man, producers of shows are just people.
Yeah.
And they pick who they like. So not every guy or every woman or every person's going to like me. And as a comic, you have to accept that.
Yeah.
When you're killing in front of a show or at a show, you're not killing with 100% of the people. Maybe 90%, but there's still that 10% that are sitting in the back like, this guy sucks. And you're like, yeah, but 90% of this room still likes me. So I'm not even going to focus on that. And as you're following, you're building a big following, and congrats, by the way.
Thank you, brother.
It's like, as the amount of people that like you grows, the amount of people that don't like you also grows.
100%, man.
So you talk to anybody right now about, Cat Williams or Kevin Hart or whatever, you go like, yeah, they got millions of people that love them, but there's also millions of people that can't stand them. Taylor Swift changed the economy with her tour. Different cities. She went to different towns and changed their entire economy. She pumped money into it. These people were on their way out, and then she just came through town and just pumped a whole bunch of money into it. But even though she's making a big change and a big difference and grossing all this money, there's still... How many people do you know that just can't stand Taylor?
A bunch.
Everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody I know is like, dude, she sucks. But I'm like, does she? Because it seems like there's way more people that love her.
Yeah.
So just accept it, man.
I really like what Neil says, Neil Benzel from JFL, that, like, don't act and perform because you want to get JFL.
Yeah.
Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Get really good. In fact, have your own following. Be happy with what you have. Kill it. Yeah. And then... it's just a matter of time that JFL will come to you.
Yeah.
And he gave the example. We did coffee the other day, and he gave the example of Shea Durena.
Shea Durena, yeah.
Where he's a great comic. He's been doing the shows for years here and everything. And then he blew up on TikTok, and now he's on Just for Laughs.
Oh yeah, they came running after him, man.
Yeah.
Well, because he's such a big name now. Again, staying authentic, staying true to you, like. Again, I always use the example of, like, trying to talk to a girl that you like, man. You go running to her, she's going to be like, this guy's kind of desperate. But then you just kind of stay true to you. You go, okay, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to grow internally, do my homework. Like what you said earlier is a perfect example. You got important projects on the go. You know what? Maybe I should hold off on the drinking. Maybe just take care of yourself. Maybe just exercise a little bit. Maybe try to eat a salad here and there. Maybe meditate. Like, taking care... This is your factory, man.
Yeah, 100%.
This is your factory. You ever go into a mechanic shop, and it's like he's got parts on the ground, and there's shelves of just junk, and you're like, you come into work into this every day? This is your... There's no... And then sometimes you walk into another mechanic shop, and you're like, it's organized. He's got drawers. He's got this. And you go, oh, yeah, this is a lot more pleasing and a lot more comfortable. And this guy's... And that's your body.
100%.
That's your body. You just make it a point to drink and smoke weed after every show, and and it's like, eventually you're going to become that mechanic with just mufflers everywhere, Like,
when I quit my job in 2017, I was a senior manager at Scotiabank, and it was like a big deal in my family that I was quitting because
That's huge.
immigrant family.
And you're at a bank.
I was a senior manager in wealth management, managing millionaires' money and everything, and and my business partner Juan was also a senior manager in brand and marketing, so we both quit. But like when I went to tell my family, it was like a big deal because I like the golden boy and like everybody's back home and they know Scotiabank because Scotiabank is in Latin America.
Oh my god.
Mi hijo Stefan in Scotia in Toronto, and then but like my parents are fantastic. Like we're good and they're
awesome.
supportive. But the big deal for me was okay. I'm gonna do this. What if I fail at comedy and I gotta go back like a fucking loser? But then I realized like failure is not like the lack of success. It's like to me in the end it was like not trying it out.
Yeah.
And I was gonna come back a better person, a better entrepreneur, a better business person, a better comedian just by doing this. So I saved up, bought myself a year, and then happily I never came back.
Nice.
But it was not because I was doing very well, because I was like depleting my savings, and I just stuck to my guns.
Yeah.
Now I'm good. But what I wanted to say is that I told myself I want to take care of my mind and body and everything because I don't want to be doing this for 2 or 5 years. I want to be doing this in 40 years too.
Exactly.
Like I want to be 80 and still be having fun with stand-up.
Yeah.
So I have to do long-term stuff with my body. Like you gotta deal with long-term people.
Yeah.
And look at everything long-term because if you're just trying to get like the easy fix, like the easy show, like the easy, you're gonna peak too early.
Yeah.
So I've been very big on trying to like steps, make sure that my steps, I'm not gonna like I'm building the foundation to this fucking building.
Yeah.
But this building is never gonna collapse because I'm building it slow.
Yeah, you're pacing yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to peak too early.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about getting better is that
it's
you're taking this experience and knowledge with you, so you're never gonna be worse than today.
Yeah.
Like I'm never gonna be better,
Yeah,
worse than at stand up than right now.
Yeah.
Unless I get like really complacent and not like get out of my comfort zone.
Well, you stop your cycle. It's gonna throw you off.
But even like in like the corporate workshops and shows that we do, and I'm never gonna make less money than I'm making because I'm investing in myself. But at Scotiabank, like I would do that stuff, and then it was like benefiting the bank. When you're like your own island, your own entrepreneur, your own artist, it's like you. Yeah. So I kind of like that driving the boat, because if it takes a while to adjust, but if you fail, it's on you.
It's on you.
You got nobody to blame.
Well, if you take also like, when you have a job, you wake up every day and then you make it there for 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whenever you start. Lunchtime, 12 o'clock, you take your lunch. Everything's structured for you. Whereas if you're your own boss, you have to make that schedule. Because a lot of people go, oh man, if I'm my own boss, I'm waking up whenever I want. And it's like, no, dude, if you want to be successful, you got to maintain that same kind of rhythm, okay, I'm waking up at 6 or 7, getting my coffee, exercising, going into work. And getting into work is just me sitting on this desk, writing some jokes, setting up some tours, like staying consistent. Noon, I'm going to have my lunch. Come back. And it's like keeping that same rhythm is more, like the longevity of that is more consistent versus like, I'm my own boss, I got to just kind of, got to sleep in. I'm not going to, and sometimes it's easy to slip into that too, because you don't have to report to anybody. Like you said, when you fail, it's you, man. You are in this position because you've set it up that way. It's not because anyone else forced you in it,
I remember like the first week. So when we quit, we went on a 3-week tour to Miami, Costa Rica, and Colombia to do shows, and I was like, it was like a welcome to the NBA moment where I was like performing with bigger comedians, and my material was about being I didn't have like a lot of like universal jokes, so I was talking only about Canada, but it doesn't land in Costa Rica or Colombia.
No.
So it was like just Shaquille O'Neal dunking on you hard. And I was like, what did I do? But it was like, you got to put yourself in these positions. And when I came back, it was like, I have my own time. I don't have to wake up to go to the bank. So my wife works at a toy company called Spin Master that does like Paw Patrol and all these things.
Oh, nice.
So she has a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, gonna watch Netflix till 1 a.m., 2 a.m., gonna wake up at 10. But like then like after like 3 days she was like, dude, we can't do this. Like you're coming into the bed like at 1 a.m., you're waking me up. And then like this is not so it would actually help me out because I adjust to her schedule.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a 9 to 5. And then with a son, with Liam, who's 4 now,
Oh, yeah.
I got to pick him up from daycare.
Yeah, you can't be living life like that.
Yeah, it's almost like you do more when you have less time. Because if you have like a lot of time to do a bunch of shit, you're like, I'll do it later. But if you have to do it that time,
Yeah.
because you know you don't have any more time in the day,
Yeah.
you get you it's almost like you become more productive.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And also just like understanding the ebbs and flows of the nature of this business.
Yeah, good. I want to ask you like 2 more questions.
Yeah, tell me.
The first one is advice to people starting. I know it's cheesy, but and we can't go like we can't split test life, and we can't go back and change stuff, and you wouldn't be here had you not like gone through everything that you and same as me. But do you have any advice? Or what would you do differently if you started your career all over again?
Man,
Advice for starting comics.
that's a tough question. I mean, just don't do it. Don't start. You think comedy's fun? Watch it. Don't do it. No. Honestly, like, just enjoy it. Like, just have fun. Always keep fun at the forefront. And you know, like, I don't know, definitely take advice. Don't think that you're like, everybody starting out thinks they're a genius off the top.
Yeah.
Thinks they're like a prodigy. I thought that. Everybody thought, yo, dude, I'm gonna be a legend. And you're like, there was only so many legends, and for the most part, most of us are not gonna be legends. We're just gonna be pretty good. We're gonna have a decent career, but not legendary status, you know? So not to like diminish anybody's like dreams, but like, I guess just kind of like listen to the people that have been doing it for longer and have fun, and as quickly as possible try to just do your own homework and find out who you are. Stop focusing on like what's funny, and like, yeah, sure, a big part of it is finding what's funny, but just find out what matters to you and speak from that perspective. Don't just, oh, hey man, this person just shit their pants, haha, and it's like, that's yeah, sure, that's kind of funny, but like, why is it funny to you? How can you tie it to your personal experience? What's your journey? Like, do you have a job? Do you have a wife? Are you single? Are you old? Are you young? Are you fat? Are you skinny? Like, speak from your perspective and don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah, the best comics, you give that same script to anybody else and they can't do it the same way.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why we love all the great comics, the Bill Burrs and the Chappelles and all, is because you make them say anything and it sounds funny already. Yeah. You know what I mean? Dave Chappelle. Like, you're just like, oh, he's funny. Or, you know, Bill Burr. Like, he's just something coming out. They just become a vessel, and then any sort of material you put into them is just going to come out funny.
Absolutely. Do you do anything specific before shows to prepare, or do you bring up a cheat sheet up on stage, or the phone to record on audio, or maybe you record video?
That's a good
Or
idea.
do you do anything that has helped you feel more at ease when you go up?
You know, maybe like just a little breathing, like just take big deep breaths, 2-3 big breaths before you go on. I recently I've been doing this thing, and it's actually been helping me with bigger shows, is imagine what it would look like once you walk on stage. They call your name, you come on out, close your eyes and just picture that for a moment. Picture the lights being so bright you can't really see the audience. Picture, you know, what you, like, just picture it just for a few seconds. And that way, when they do call your name and you do come out, it's familiar.
You're in there.
You already saw it in your head. You knew exactly what this was going to look like.
The visualization, I love it.
Yeah.
I love doing that as well, and I arrive early so that I can, if nobody's there, I can walk before.
Oh, nice.
And I can see like how things feel and everything.
Yeah.
Because you don't want like a minor thing to throw you off at the beginning, and then like, that could have like a domino effect. But I mean, I always do the visualization, and then I always try to arrive early to see who's there.
Yeah.
Who's coming? What type of audience? Is it all Latinos? Is it Indians? Is it all white people? Is it a bunch of girls? Like who's here? Because I also love to crowd work, and if I have a target for a joke, or like the joke is about this type of people, like Mexicans or anything, I want to have certain targets and connect with them, because it could make, or I wouldn't say it could make or break the joke, but it could be a good moment. It could have a big pop.
Of course.
And the last question is a champagne question that everybody gets. And it goes like this. If we were to meet a year from now with a bottle of champagne or sparkling water or whatever you want, what are we celebrating in 2025 in Mo's life?
Ooh, damn. Okay. That's a sick question, bro. That's a great question.
That's all the closer always.
All right. Well, we're definitely keeping it halal, so it's going to be sparkling water, maybe a ginger ale. What are we celebrating, man? Honestly, just I don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to work on my US paperwork right now, so maybe, but it's not like, I don't even think it's celebration. It's just steps, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the renewal of my Costco membership. Could celebrate that. Some good deals going on at Costco. Celebrating
Just for Last Vancouver that you killed.
just for Last Vancouver, right? Maybe just like maybe a new album coming, like maybe just like more life, man. Celebrate the journey. Celebrate like a year later is always a year funnier.
Yeah.
So as long as everybody's good and good health, man, that's I realized recently that a lot of the things that I ask for, you know, or that I pray for, like I already have them, you know? So I'm like, I'm always like praying for like good opportunities and like, you know, good health. And so I'm just like, I think I need to not necessarily stop asking, but just appreciate more of like the good things that we already have. We already have everything.
Yeah.
We do, man. Like, bro, we just smashed your citizenship. How you waited 15 years?
And am I not a Canadian citizen?
Yeah.
No, I'm still a citizen.
Right? But it's like all these little things that we work for. It's like just celebrate the journey, you know? Celebrate it all, man. We're here, we're breathing. We got some good company, good people, good family. So blessings, man. Celebrate growth.
It could not have been a better way to close the podcast than to refer. I was actually going to open with that, and I forgot that I welcome Mo into my home, the Stefan Dyer Studios. We're moving stuff around, and I smash my citizenship ceremony diploma that makes me a Canadian citizen.
He's done.
Like glass flying everywhere. We had our shoes on, so we didn't harm anybody. Nobody was harmed. No dogs or cats or kids or anybody were harmed.
Yeah, but you are gonna get deported soon, dude. That's done. It's game over.
It has a chip on the back of it, and now Justin Trudeau knows that I'm no longer a citizen, so I'm gonna get deported.
That's it,
my friends. We've come to the end of the show with Big Mo. I'm so happy, dude. I'm so happy that we got to do this.
Me too.
Have
brother.
a great time in your tour. We're actually gonna be in Vancouver, not at the same time.
Yeah.
But I hope that this year we get to perform again soon.
We will.
And
we will, man. Let's put it out there.
Big Mo, Stefan Dyer on the Stefan Dyer Podcast. Ciao, ciao.
Gracias por escuchar el Stefan Dyer Podcast. Arrivederci, my people.